Hey guys, this is Zola, and welcome to the making of Legacy documentary thingy. I had this idea quite a while back to maybe, as the months and weeks went along, to kind of make a kind of video showing some of the thought processes behind what I was making, maybe seeing how I organize things, and I get asked a lot, like how I work and the way I work. So I thought maybe a video documentary would be a good idea. So I'm not really going to be going into great detail about what I'm doing, but maybe just pick up a few tips along the way and see how I work through stuff. Here we have the folder. These are all the clips that have been sent. As you can see, I captured them over pretty much 3 separate days, which took a while. Took more than a while, but and basically what I've done is I've named them after the map first of all. So we have Narrows, a lot of Guardian, a bit of Construct, and a lot of Narrows and the Pit, which are the 2 main maps. And I put a little provisional ranking, kind of, I'd say the wow factor. I wouldn't say how good the clip is, but the kind of feeling it gave me when I first watched it, and that might change, but it's just for me so that when I'm editing I know roughly which ones I want to pick and which ones I might only use to sync. And here we have the miscellaneous clips, which are something slightly different, so I've just marked those out with an asterisk so I can so I can tell which ones I might use for the credits. Okay, here we are in After Effects, and yes, I do edit only in After Effects. I don't use any other programs. And the first thing I do when I start a song is I mark out my song on the timeline, using the 30 seconds to my song, The Fantasy, which is an old one, which hasn't been used that much, I don't think, and it's one of my favourite songs. So, as you can see here, I've marked out basically all the major beats in the song, and I've left the start blank because I don't think this is going to be the first song, so I'll have to kind of lead into it from the second song. And once you've marked them all out, sometimes I put little tags just to mark where the start of a verse is or whatever. So the F stands for where he says The Fantasy. And a lot of these clips may change, so don't take this as read. You might, having watched the montage, hopefully by the time you see this, things might be a lot different. But yeah, I've only done about a minute so far. I only started a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I guess that does it for the first episode, I guess. I'm just going to stitch all these together anyway, so yeah, see you next time. Okay, so it's been all of 5 minutes since my last update, and I realised there was something I forgot to mention. Basically, just going around how I organise this stuff, you'll see I'm quite a kind of neat freak. I have my song at the bottom always, I have my clips, and the adjustment layers usually go directly above, and then I tend to put any additional sounds, like sometimes the medals. I like to put the medals in myself so that I can control the level, because sometimes it gets drowned out by the gameplay. And then I usually have a layer of flash, which is just a layer filled with white. What I tend to do is instead of having it as a normal white layer, I put it to the add overlay mode, and if you compare this to normal, you will see that I've actually chosen a layer that was off. Well played. Here we go. So can you see? There's not much of a difference, but I just feel that it makes the flashes slightly easier to look at, as it kind of lights the screen up better. But what I did want to show you was this. Now this is a piece of advice that I could offer to anyone who's starting out. This is an effect that took me about 2 hours to build, and I know that when you've spent a lot of time as an editor on an effect and you think it's really great, and then you put it in and you're not sure if it quite works, well, but you don't want to dump it because you spent 2 hours on it, or sometimes even longer, often a lot longer. And this took me 2 hours, but I decided to drop it. I mean, I'll play it through here. This happened really fast, but it looked alright. It was basically kind of a custom screenshot, and I just had the screen divided into 3 pieces and collapse basically. But as an editor, you have to kind of take a step back sometimes and decide if it's going to work or not. I mean, where was I going to use it? Yes, I was going to use it here as the Spartan kind of hit the screen. And in the end, I decided it was just better without. And just because you spent 2 hours or however long on an effect does not mean you have to use it. Just try and be subjective. Maybe sometimes turn the program off, come back after a few days and decide if it works better, or just ask the advice of someone. So yeah, quick tip there. See you later. Okay guys, in After Effects, just a few quick tips to saving yourself time. If you're going to be spending a lot of time in any program, then you're going to want to know the kind of shortcuts to keep you moving fast, and in the long run, if you're spending tens or hundreds of hours on any number of projects, these kind of shortcuts will definitely come in handy in saving you a lot of time. Okay, first one I'm going to mention is pretty obvious actually, but it's shortcuts. Position, scale, rotation, opacity. You really don't want to be going in and having to twirl this down and so you need to remember all these. Anchor is A, P is position, scale S, rotation R, opacity T. Your audio levels for a clip, L. That's your waveform. If you just want your levels, press L. If there's a mask on the layer, mask. Okay, mask, M, brings up all of them. M just brings up the mask, and then you have your feather, which is F. So let's delete that mask. And there's a bunch of others, like you want to remember the stuff in here, like G is a pen tool. Press V, go back to select, G is the pen tool. So just remembering, maybe just learn these one at a time, but they'll definitely save you time in the long run. One of my favorites is the command bracket up, move a layer up and down. You might think what's wrong with dragging. Well, once you have hundreds of layers, then it's going to become a pain in the neck. So you're probably best command shift bracket, moves to top of the comp or bottom, depending on what you press. Let's undo that. Okay, and back. Obviously, Command Z, the most used shortcut of all time. The second thing I want to point out is if you have, this is a great little time saver, if you have any area rendered, and let's assume this is a heavily rendered affected area, which takes, I don't know, maybe 30-40 seconds to render every time. If you drag, say now you wanted to add any kind of sound effect to this area, if you drag the sound effect in, can you see we have lost that? And now if this was a heavy I don't know, time blended or motion blurred or whatever, then that is going to take a while to render. Now I've picked an easy area to render here so that I can show you. But now watch if I drop this, notice I have this sound effect and I drop it in after and bring it back in, voila, the audio effect is there and we haven't affected our render area, which means that I can now just play it and that random swoosh will be there. Why we would put it there, I do not know. Oh, another shortcut, spacebar. Spacebar works here as well. Hold the spacebar down, get it done. Okay, last thing I want to point out is, and all the editors who have ever edited anything are going to groan here because it's the dreaded masking or rotoscoping, depending on what you like to call it. Now, here I've chose this example because it is perfect. We have two Spartans here. We have a red Spartan with there, and we have the blue one on the floor there. Now I've done the blue one already. I'm going to do the red one after I turn this off. As you can see, the movement on this blue Spartan is minimal. Zoom in here. absolutely minimal. So what I've been able to do, if we zoom in on the timeline, is I've been able to just make one keyframe here, trace around them with the pen tool. You can use the paint tool as well, that works, but I don't know, I'm just more of a pen tool kind of guy. And can you see there's literally minimal movement from here to here, so I've got away with using only 2 keyframes, but After Effects worked the rest out. Here suddenly we have his legs kind of close. You can see this area. So I've had to be a bit more thorough here. And then once again, no movement. Now, so that's kind of easy, and if only they were all that easy, but let's have a look at the red Spartan up here real quick. Where is he? Right, red Spartan. As you can see, I have this twirling effect going on. And this is the first frame where he will need to be above the actual floor of Guardian. So if we zoom in, you can see I've trimmed the layer to only appear here because you don't want to give yourself any more work than you have to. And this is a completely different job now. I started masking this and then decided it was a bad idea because I was going to do it in the same manner as here. But if you look at the legs, that's fine. And then suddenly his legs close, and look at this. This is just going to, if I went about trying to move these points around, this would just be hell. So what I recommend is have a look at this, at the subject that you're going to be masking, and just decide if there's going to be radical changes, you're best off masking each frame individually, pasting all the keyframes onto one mask. So that's just a quick tip. The other tip I have is on any kind of masking that you do, always start on the layer where you will have the least keyframes to do. For example, on the blue Spartan, if I unsolo this, and now I can't find him, there he is, Bob. Right, as you can see here, I've gone from having keyframes to not needing them. And what I did here was, in fact, I started on this layer because it was less work. Because what happens is if you start on a layer and say you start on the most complicated one and then you move to a really simple one, you're going to have loads of keyframes close together in little areas, and you won't actually need that detail, and you're just going to be pushing around loads of little keyframes. So that's why I recommend just starting on a really simple frame, and then as it gets more complicated, just using the add point tool just to add the points as you need them, and then that way you'll kind of minimize your workload. Alright, it's been a bit long, which is ironic considering I was supposed to be saving time, but whatever. Alright. Hello, or good evening, should I say. It is March 21st, which means we are well into the new year now, and I'm certainly building up a good pace now. I'm into the 3rd song, and there's a couple of things that I want to share. A couple of tips actually, mainly on time saving. Here we have kind of very time consuming effect. I've spent most of my Sunday evening doing this, and we have the kind of matrix, kind of overused effect, I guess. But kind of line comes and then it slows down, and this effect is built up of about 4, 5, 6 different effects, and I just want to stress the kind of importance of proxies, especially if your computer's not particularly fast. Last thing you want to do is every time you add something to this effect, like I've just added a circle here, which is just basic circle plugin that comes with After Effects. You have the kind of circle kind of expanding around here, and as I was timing this up, the last thing I wanted to do was wait 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 seconds for me to keep rendering and for me to know what this would look like. So this is where proxies come in. Basically, if we have a look here, as you can see, my proxy is enabled, and a proxy